Behold, the stars are right. The first or second, depends on how you look at it, expansion set for Rise of the Old Ones, a new core set for Kamigami battles. Now, I have no idea what this is about. I'm unfamiliar with it, so I'm going to take a look at the backside and hope that gives us some details. The wheel of the heavens turns, bringing the stars into a terrible alignment not seen for eons. Passageways meant to be closed forever have opened, bringing horrific beings into our world once again, and into the ongoing conflict between the gods. That's actually not that bad. I like that. I like that kind of idea, that concept, that little brief description. This is as if it's taking its own creative twist or its own creative characters and warriors and whatnot into Kamigami battles. I mean, that's just what I'm getting from that description. I could be wrong. The stars are right. Could be referencing something else. I'm not going to know until I find out how to open this. So when I open this, we'll find out. But this is going to have warriors, disciples, god cards, one location, artifacts, and dividers and randomizers, which aren't as important because we want to see what the big god cards are and everything. So here's that. All right. There's the gods, the warriors, and disciples. Starting with the most interesting things, we're going to look at the gods first. All right, and the first god for this set is going to be Youll Gacha. Well, first ability is act. Take 1 energy, add 1 to your location. If it is destroyed, turn it over first. That's the second time I've seen the phrase turn it over first. So that would mean that there are cards in this set and the Rise of the Old Ones that actually revive your location. So if your location is destroyed, or your temple I should say, because temple location are the same thing. If they're destroyed, they're gone completely. They're there like the card itself, but they're gone. So it looks like this is actually giving your temples revives now. So it looks like this set, this core set, and these 2 expansion sets is giving you ways to work with your temple or location in a way that the River of Souls and the Battle 9 Realms and their expansion sets not have. So that's a welcoming feature because temples were pretty, I want to say, underwhelming outside of their initial abilities. And its react when this god, I want to say this, is attacked, pay 1 energy. The attacker must discard 1 card from their hand or the attack is cancelled. Okay, so you're forcing your opponent to pay additional to attack you. That's useful. Next card is, oh my gosh, that is very lewd. Huh. Well, it's Gazantorsoria. Okay, and its first ability, act, pay 1 energy, remove 2 energy from any god, 2 energy from any god. That's a new one because when it comes to remove energy, you can't protect yourself with defense cards from that if you use an ability that cancels out other abilities to use it. That's a new one. But the fact that it says 2 energy, 2, all the other ones have been just 1 energy. So that's pretty big. It says 2. I know it's such a minor thing, but that's pretty amazing. Its second ability, a react. When a warrior or disciple attacks disciple, it's interesting how it says that too, because in these sets, the newer sets, and the expansion sets, you have disciples have attack power now, or gods that give attacks to disciples. So this really includes that. Pay 2 energy. Banish the attacking warrior or disciple at the beginning of the discard phase. Okay, so your opponent can attack. When attack's done, they have to save their card or they lose it. That's pretty useful. Alright, here you go. Faceplant the mousey. Next warrior is Nazareth. Huh. I wonder what relation that has to do with this god, which is from Into the Dreamlands. So that doesn't character, like, this is the character asleep and this is the character awake. Interesting, they have the same names because they don't do same names. Like when this game was initially Kansumi Goddesses, one of the promo gods was a character named Ares, but one of the warriors was a character named Ares as well. It wasn't until they went into Battle 9 Realms as Kamigami battles that he changed Ares into Mars, and then Ares and the warrior remained the same. So interesting tidbit information there. Anyways, continuing on, so the Black Pharaoh, let's just go with that. First act, pay 1 energy, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, draw 1 card and put the rest on top of another one of those. Okay, so in this current core set, Rise of the Old Gods, and the expansion set Into the Dreamland, they have a lot of abilities that involve looking at top 3 or whatever cards of the deck, of your deck or opponent's deck or player's deck, and draw one of them or put any of them back in any order. So it's going to be similar to that. It's just another one of those abilities, another one deck manipulation abilities. Second ability, react, pay 1 energy, copy a god's ability. Act abilities can only be used on your turn. You may activate this ability once per turn. Ooh, so that copies other abilities. So that's really useful because your second ability, which is in this case a react, can be any ability that you're facing off of other gods. So that's very good. Next is going to be Fazer Dagon. Act, pay 1 energy, discard 1 artifact from your hand to gain fate points equal to its cost. So if you have one of the artifact cards that are common, not persistent, or whatever the other actually doesn't have another phrase, it's either common, persistent, or just blank. Either way, if you have those cards in your hand, you can discard it and gain fate points. That's useful if you need fate points and don't need to use the artifact at that time. Second act, for the rest of the turn, all your blue warriors gain attack 2. That's another one. Again, in these new sets, there's a handful of gods that give additional bonuses to blue warriors, which is interesting. Next is gonna be Zoff among. Act. First act, banish 1 disciple from your hand, gain 2 fate points. Fair enough. Later on in the game, or mid to late game, you're gonna have disciples you don't want, like disciple 1s, you don't want them if they're not as useful, so you can get rid of those and get fate points in out your deck, so you can draw cards that you want with better chance. Second act, pay 1 energy, reduce the cost of another one, blue warriors by 1 until the end of the... I'm not sure what the fascination of blue warriors is in these past sets. By these past sets, I mean Rise of the Old Ones, Into Dreamland, and the Stars Are Right. So that's interesting. Next god is going to be the one on the cover. Hastur. Pay 1 energy, reduce the cost of a yellow warrior by 1 until the end of the turn. Pretty straightforward. React, when Hastur is damaged, search your discard pile for a warrior card with a cost of 4 or less and put it in your hand. So that's useful to get warriors into your hand, because you want red warriors are generally attacking warriors. That's great to get, but it does say when it's damaged. That means that you actually have to take damage on this god to do that ability. You can't get attacked, play defense card, and then do that. You have to take at least 1 thing of damage to do that. And next is the location, which would be, yep, that's it. The last 2 cards are advertisements. So the location is going to be Karakosa. When you play a yellow warrior, add 1 energy here. Again, the here phrasing, it's so weird. Only activate once per turn, obviously. And act, pay 2 energy off here. Put 1 yellow warrior from your Hall of Heroes with a cost of 4 or less into your discard pile. That is very useful. You always want to get free warriors off your location if you can, or off anything that doesn't involve your god losing HP. That's useful. So as I did support the Kickstarter, I did get one of the additional promo gods that comes for this set. It is from this set, the Stars Are Right TSAR, and that's going to be Abahoth. So you have an ability, act, pay 1 energy, reduce the cost of water. Another one, reduce the cost of blue or gray warriors by this turn by 1. You can now purchase multiple warriors with the same name this turn. Interesting that blue and gray warriors in this core set and expansion sets have a big focus now. And the next ability, react, if you would be reduced to 0 HP, banish 1 blue or gray warrior from your hand and you are at 1 HP. So that's a lifesaver. So other than that, this card's pretty... It just lets you buy more blue and gray warriors at a lower cost. But if you're going to get knocked out, or sealed as you would say in the game, you can bring them back to life with this. So interesting again that these sets, the Rise of the Old Ones, the Stars Are Right, and Into the Dreamland, have been given a lot of support to the blue and moon, or water and gray. Oh, I just did it backwards there. Well, those warriors are getting a lot of support from these sets, which is interesting. Oh, you can't smell that from here, but the smell of brand new cards. Oh, this is the taste of the devil. Well, the disciple in this set is going to be simply called Witch. It's a disciple 1, only costs 2. Act 1, 1 fate point like all the other disciple ones. The react though, when you perform an adjudication, reveal a second card and choose 1 for the result. That is super useful. there's so many adjudication and so many restrictions and requirements. You can always manipulate your decks with cards that say, such as a Dark Pharaoh, where you can choose what card to put on the top of your deck and bottom of your deck. But being able to choose a second card for adjudication, that's super useful if you're just doing it blind. And that is Disciple 1. Very nice, very nice. Very nice. Now on to the warriors of the set. The first one is a red warrior called Mygo. Costs 3. First ability, attack 2. Second ability, reveal the top card of the artifact deck. You may purchase or banish it. So that's useful if you want to take a sneak peek at what's in an artifact deck and get the first dibs on either taking it or banishing it. Next card is going to be Charles Dexter Ward. It's a gold card, 3 faith points. First act, to get 2 faith points. Second act, you may purchase 1 warrior in the Netherrealm as if it were the Hall of Heroes. So that's pretty good, because any card in the Netherworld, you can pick them up as long as you can pay it. So you don't have to like go off what's there at the top of the deck. Next warrior is going to be Abdul Azred. I hope I read that right. It's a green warrior, cost 5. Act, take 1 artifact from the Netherworld and put it in your discard pile. Ooh, it's sneaky. You don't, so you have to pay. If an artifact gets in Netherworld or banished, you can always grab it. That'd be useful. React, pay 1 artifact from your discard pile if you could legally play it in the current chain. Oh, that's also very useful. Wow, that's so far 2 pretty good support cards for artifacts. Next is a red warrior, Baki. It's cost 4. Act 3. Any warrior or disciple used for defense against Baki is reincarnated at the beginning of the discard phase. That's mean. So if any warrior or disciple used to defend against it gets reincarnated, it means it gets sent back to the deck. If it's a warrior, it gets sent back to the warrior deck in the Hall of Heroes, and same thing, disciple gets sent back to the disciple deck. That's mean. Next is Herbert West. It's a great card. Costs 3. Banish 1 artifact from your hand. Take 1 warrior from the Netherrealm with a cost 4 or less and put in a discard pile. And second act, draw 1 card. So I'll draw a card and you get to replace artifacts. So if you have artifacts you don't need or don't want anymore, you get to replace it with an actual warrior. It's pretty good. It's always nice to have options of cycling things you don't need out for things you need in. Next warrior is going to be Lavina Watelli. Nah. It's a blue, costs 4. First ability, act, choose 2 warriors from your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck. Yeah, imagine if you only had no deck left and you shuffle just those 2 in. That'd be funny. Second act, choose 1 player to discard 1 random card from their hand if they have 4 more cards in their hand. Another one of those. There's a lot of that in these sets. Next is Professor Padu. Papodi? It's a gray warrior. Cost 5. First act, remove 1 energy from your location. Add 1 energy to a persistent artifact. Okay, so that supports the persistent artifacts, which is really good because the persistent artifacts have abilities that are based on how much energy it has on it, which I'll go over later if we see any. Second act, reincarnate 1 artifact from the Netherrealm. So if an artifact gets banished or out of play, you can return it back to the artifact deck. So this one has much more artifact support cards, which is interesting. Next is Erich Zane, or the Erich Zane, I should say. It's a yellow, cost 2. First ability, remove 1 energy from location, add 1 into your god. Pretty good, pretty good. You always want to get more HP on your god at the expense of your location, because the locations usually gain HP on a consistent basis. React, cancel attack on a warrior. Cancel an attack on a warrior. You know, these really phrase that to cancel a warrior's attack, but canceling attack, that's useful. So rather than playing a defense card and having to deal with whatever outcome there could be, such as some warriors that if you defend against them, the cards you defend against them are banished, this just cancels the attack, so that's a nice workaround. And the last warrior from this set is going to be Hounds of Tendalos. So red warrior, cost 3. First ability is a reveal. Remove 2 energy from the current player's location. That is just, you do not want that. The only time you want that to be revealed is if you can do it on your opponent's turn. And the next thing, attack 4. That's big for a 3 warrior or a 3 cost warrior. That's big to have attack 4. And that's going to be the last warrior for this set. Next are going to be the artifacts that come in this set. Artifacts being the new cards that came with the Rise of the Old Ones core set. The first artifact is Space Mead. It's a blue card, cost 2. First act, shuffle your discard pile into your deck. Okay, similar to the other one. Second thing, react. If your warrior is banished, you may put it in your discard instead. So that's useful. It's good to save your warriors if it gets banished by a god or by another effect. Next card is going to be a Bulletproof Vest. That is the most straightforward artifact I've seen out of all these sets so far. It's green, costs 2 faith points. It's a common card. React, increase the defense of a disciple by 1. React, cancel an ability of an artifact being used. So that's pretty useful because there are more warriors in this that have consequences when attacking multiple defenders. So it's better off you can defend with 1 and just boost its defense up really high. So only that defender gets the consequence. So that's pretty useful, and it's a common one. So got 6 of those. Next is going to be Brain Cylinder. It's kind of weird. It's a gray card, cost 4 faith points. First ability, take 1 warrior from the Netherworld and put it in your discard pile. Banish this artifact at the beginning of discard phase. Okay, so it's exchange. You're getting a warrior from your choice of the Netherrealm into your discard pile, but then you lose this card. Fine trade-off. Second act, banish 1 warrior from the Hall of Heroes. Oh, okay. So even if there's nothing useful or no warriors in the Netherrealm, you can use this to banish it, and in the following turn, if you can play this again or another one, you can grab that warrior. Next is King in Yellow Playbook. I don't know what that is. The King in Yellow, man. I don't know what that's a reference to. I know there's a King in Black, but that's something else. It's a yellow card, cost 3, a persistent artifact. First ability, act, add 1 to this artifact, 1 HP, 1 energy to this artifact. The second act, perform an agitation X times. X equals the number of energy on this artifact. Gain 1 faith point for each disciple revealed. Lose 1 from your god for each artifact revealed. Ooh. So the way persistent artifacts work is you would play them in chain. So let's say you play this card, Mygo, as a yellow, as a chaining color. You would then play this right after because it's chaining to yellow and it can continue your turn. You would do the first action, just put 1 energy on here because it has no energy to begin with. And then in discard phase, you don't discard the artifacts that are persistent, they stay. So they stick around like equip cards. If you want to look at like item cards, they stay on your side and you don't have to play them again into the chain. You can just use their abilities on their own. So this just stays on your side and keeps stacking up an energy again and again and again until you can use the ability or when you want to use the ability. So very useful. Next is Disc of Hades. Disc of Hades, it's a gray card, costs 2 faith points. A simple react. At the beginning of the discard phase, reincarnate 1 warrior that attacked this turn. Ooh, so if your opponent attacks and you take the hit, or it doesn't matter if you take a hit or not, if you block it or whatever, you can play this to make them reincarnate that so they lose that warrior and they send it back to the Hall of Heroes warrior deck. That's useful. And this is going to be the last artifact card, which is a Sacrificial Knife. It's a red card, costs 1 faith points. It's a common card. Again, I'm not sure what common is because the rulebook doesn't state what common is. Act, add 2 faith points. Reincarnate this artifact at the beginning of the discard phase. Ooh, so it's just a quick gain of faith points. But you have to pay 1 to get that, but then you gain 2. So I guess it's investment going forward. So if you get a bunch of these are red. They chain into red, so you can chain these into each other if you want really badly, and you get a bunch of faith points. And then of course you have the randomizers here, which are used to create a deck, and you have the little dividers that are left on the side. I'm not going to bother going through these or opening them. Between the 2 expansion sets, the Stars Are Right and Into the Dreamland, honestly, I like this one a little better. It's got some real mean cards, like this one here, this red warrior that makes you reincarnate any warrior or disciple used to defend against it. But this does have a lot of support and artifact cards. It looks like they are pushing for artifact cards to be the new Sang or be something they're worth investing. You don't want to add a new card to a new set or a new game and have little support or little reason for anyone to play it. So it's nice to see that this one has an interesting mix of cards that support artifacts, making them much more valuable and useful in game, while at the same time not putting too much investment, too much attention into them, making the warriors themselves and the gods feel underwhelming and not as useful. But I do wonder what these are all referenced to, because honestly, just like Into the Dreamland, I'm not familiar with the term The Stars Are Right. I'm not familiar with any of this. I don't know if this is something more original, because it does, the little description background does imply that it's something a little more chaotic or a little more something on its own rather than pulling from other mythologies or rather pulling from a single mythology, because you do have cards in here that look like they're from other things, such as this one here looks like it could relate to Cthulhu, while this one over here looks like it could relate to River of Souls. So it does look like it's pulling from all of the mythologies rather than just going with a whole entire new theme of just one.